How's it going, everyone? It's Ben Falcons Media calling back again with a brand new video for today. Welcome back to the movie review, aka After I Saw review video for today. This time for this new episode for this series is going to be my review on the 2022 psychological drama, and that is The Whale. Now, this is directed by Darren Aronofsky, and this film is based off the stage play of the same name by Samuel D. Hunter, whom he wrote the script for this movie based off his own play. And this film stars Brendan Fraser, whom we haven't heard from this actor in a while, but he is now back to do movies after all this time since we haven't heard from him since then, in which in this movie he plays this man named Charlie, whom he is 600 pounds and he is suffering from obesity, and he's had a very complicated yet dramatic past in which he used to have a family, but he abandoned his family for his gay lover, who later died. And for Charlie, he's been binge eating out the pain and guilt from what he has gone through, and he's been living on his own for so many years in his apartment. And he has a best friend named Liz, played by Chau, whom she is a nurse who takes care of him, but at this moment he isn't doing that well due to the fact that he's been living on his own for so many years and he still eats. And for Charlie, he basically wants to redeem himself, in which all he wants to do is that he wants to see his daughter Ellie, played by Sadie Sink, whom he hasn't seen in years since he abandoned her for his gay lover. And once these two characters meet up with each other, things don't go as planned that well, because for his daughter, she isn't all that happy to see him, and there's tons of reasons why. So basically we see Charlie trying to reconnect with his daughter for his last chance of redemption. So that's pretty much the story of The Whale. Now, this was one of my most anticipated movies of 2022 here, guys. Like, I was so hyped for this movie along with everyone else, and there's been so much anticipation for this movie, namely due to Brendan Fraser, because for Brendan Fraser himself, he was a huge star back in the days for like the 90s and the early 2000s through films such as like The Mummy, George of the Jungle, Bedazzled, Gods and Monsters, and amongst other things he has done. And I did grow up with this actor when I was a kid. Like, I had seen him in a few of his huge roles, even though there still are a few of his huge roles that I have yet to check out that I've never seen before. And I had grown up with him in other roles outside of his huge roles, like Looney Tunes Back in Action and Furry Vengeance, which, let's not talk about that movie. But from all of that, we haven't heard from this actor in a while, but once I heard that he was coming back to do movies after all this time since he stepped away from the spotlight, I was very excited, yet very happy at the same time, because I really miss Brendan Fraser so much. Like, we've all really missed him so much, and you know, everyone's been giving him a lot of support from like what he's gone through and all that. And I indeed did give him a lot of support from like what he's gone through and all that, because he is just generally a nice human being on the planet. And once I found out that he was teaming up with A24 as well as with Darren Aronofsky, I was getting more excited as well, because for A24, they have definitely become one of my favorite like movie studios on the planet, because you know, they've made so many amazing films over the last few years. And as for Darren Aronofsky, I am a fan of Darren Aronofsky myself. I think he's a great talented filmmaker. Like, he's made some very well made films, even though most of his films are usually well known for being very depressing, very unsettling to watch, like through films such as Requiem for a Dream, The Wrestler, Black Swan, Mother, and others as well. And what I didn't realize that before checking out this movie is that this was actually based off a stage play, and I didn't even know what the whole play was about. So I had to research what the whole play was about, and I actually did watch the play in preparation for this movie, and I really enjoyed the play. And once the reviews did drop by for this movie, the reviews for this film were surprisingly polarizing, because critics were very polarized with this movie, and they weren't giving that much praise as audiences were, because audiences were giving a lot of praise for this movie than critics were. And this film was released around Christmas time in the US, but we didn't get this film until February of this year in the UK. And I went to see this on the day it came out in my area, which was the 3rd of February. And the screening that I was in, unfortunately, wasn't much of a full house, but there was a fair amount of people in the screening that I was in. But after watching this whole movie, I gotta say here, guys, I genuinely thought The Whale was amazing, but it's definitely one I can definitely say was an emotional roller coaster ride of a movie here. And I can definitely say this is definitely another one of my favorite films that 2022 has released here. The biggest reason to see The Whale is indeed Brendan Fraser's performance, because he was absolutely phenomenal in this movie, and I can definitely say this is definitely my favorite performance from him today here, because he genuinely blew me away here throughout the entire film from his incredible yet powerful performance as Charlie. And I really felt for this character so much throughout the entire film, from what he has gone through from his past. And as you watch the film, you can see him just suffering in the film due to the fact that he's been living on his own for so many years and he eats so much food and he never stops eating in the film. And when it came to those moments in the film, it honestly made me terrified and yet very emotional because I didn't want this character to die or anything like that because I really felt for him so much. And speaking of those moments, there was one big moment in the film where you see him just binge eat so much food, like pizzas and all that. And when that scene showed up on screen when I saw this in the cinemas, it was very hard for me to watch, and I nearly felt physically sick to my stomach, and I thought I was gonna vomit when that scene was happening. But luckily, that didn't happen to me when I was watching the film. I managed to stay strong, but when that scene ended, I just couldn't stop crying my eyes out because that scene was stuck on my head, and I just couldn't get it out of my head. But that is one of my weak aspects I have with the film. And since Brendan Fraser is really big in this movie for playing this very, very overweight man, he didn't really gain that much weight to play this character. He actually had to wear a fat suit and makeup. And the way it's been made out for this film was incredible. And as for the actors in the film, like you've got Sadie Sink, she's really great in the movie as Ellie. Chau was also great in the movie too as Liz. She gave a really great strong performance. Simpkins, who he has grown a lot in recent years since he was in Insidious, the MCU, and Jurassic World. He was really good in the movie as this character named Thomas, who he's this kid who works at the church who's trying to help Brendan Fraser's character, Charlie. He was really good in the movie. And Samantha Morton, who plays Charlie's ex-wife, Mary, she was really good in the movie too, although she's not in the movie that much, but she is still really good in this movie. And when it comes to the direction by Darren Aronofsky, it's what you expect really for a Darren Aronofsky film like this one, because when it comes to his directing talent from his previous films, they're usually well known for being, not really that uplifting because he doesn't tend to make those movies that much. He always tends to make, really dark and yet really, really depressing films like Requiem for a Dream, The Wrestler, Black Swan, and Mother, which I really enjoy those movies, even though they definitely aren't that rewatchable for like every single day. They can definitely be rewatchable just for once a year though, even though they are really tough to watch. Like Requiem for a Dream, that was a really tough one to watch, but I really enjoyed that one. And Mother, it's definitely one of the most bizarre films that I've ever seen in my life, but I really enjoyed that one too. But for what he did here for The Whale, I thought he did a great job directing the film for some great shots in the film, even though there are moments in the film that can be very, very tough to watch through the subject matter of what this film tackles on, which is basically obesity, which I can definitely tell that's the real reason like why this film is very divisive and all that from the reviews from critics and audiences and all that. But I liked how he directed the moment where it does focus on the strong message of the film, which is about being honest. Because there are moments in the film where we see Charlie teaching online classes to his students, and he wants the students to be honest with him. And I really dug those moments in the film. And when it comes to the story and the writing in the film from Samuel D. Hunter, I found both of those things to be really strong and very touching at the same time, mostly due to the character, because I found all these characters in the film very well developed and very, very strong for their material, and I really cared for these characters so much in the film, mostly due to Brendan Fraser, because his character has gone through a lot and he has suffered a lot in the film. And overall, in the end, guys, The Whale, I genuinely thought this movie was amazing, but I can definitely say this was definitely an emotional roller coaster ride of a movie here. And I can definitely say this is definitely another one of my favorite films that 2022 has released. And there's a few ways I could recommend this film. If you're a fan of Brendan Fraser, or you're a fan of Darren Aronofsky, or you're a fan of the stage play, this is definitely one you don't want to miss out for yourselves. And if you miss a chance to see this in cinemas, it is available to watch at demand at home. So that's pretty much all I have to say about The Whale. And I'm going to give The Whale 4.5 out of 5. Despite having one little flaw with this movie, I still managed to have an amazing experience watching this film on the big screen, and I'm really happy this one did not disappoint me since I've been really anticipating for this movie way back in 2022. And like I said before, this is definitely another one of my favorites that 2022 has released. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching for my AK After I Saw review on The Whale, and let me know what you think of this movie if you have seen this already or if you just recently checked out this film. Did you absolutely love this movie, or was this not really your cup of tea? As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and this has been Falcon's Media Corner signing off.